Great. So, yeah, we've got 15 people on. Let me just. Thank you, Tania. Yay. Okay, cool. Let's get started. So, welcome, everybody. Uh, and we are live on YouTube as well, so you'll be able to share that with anybody new who comes into your team who happens to have missed this, and then the recording is evergreen. So, how many of you, so if we followed the series of what we've been talking about from a mindset perspective over the last, this is week 3 of the month. We started week 1 with goal setting in a brain-friendly way so that would get you into action. And then last week we spoke about how to actually turn those goals into actionable steps that stay and keep you in momentum. And we talked about how we often can get a dopamine hit just from the goal setting process, and how that can, in a way, already pre-reward us without us having done the work. So I am hoping that all of you got into action after last week's call. And if so, pop some messages in the chats, or if you're watching on YouTube, put some comments to say what shifted from last week's little micro actions lesson to get you out of that false sense of achievement and success that came just with setting goals. And did you actually have breakthroughs in actions? So pop those in the chats. Let us hear everything that or any of your wins that came through. Now, why do I encourage you to celebrate a win? And what is a win? A win is not a generalized statement. So when I talk about wins from a brain-based perspective, my take on wins, the brain-based way of sharing wins, is to identify an activity or an action that you did that was aligned with your future self. In other words, if you've set yourself a goal to be generating a certain amount of revenue or sales, and you took a step in that direction, that's a win. And today, what we're going to talk about is how to now rescue this month out of the doldrums. I kind of feel like week 3 in a month in any business cycle is a little bit of the doldrums. So if you are sitting now in week 3 and you are going, well, week 1 was a hype, week 2 was work, and week 3, I'm not too sure right now. I've got kind of irons in the fire and they don't seem to be closing, then that's what we're going to talk about today. For those of you who are new to this call, it happens every Thursday. My name is Tania Adams. I am a neuroscience-based coach mainly for women entrepreneurs, though I do have a wide client base, and I help people rewire their brains for success in business and in life. And I've been partnered with Nu Skin it'll be 6.5 years soon. Can you believe that? And my husband and I partnered with Nu Skin at a time when we were looking for another business to replace his insurance brokerage. And to be frank, we didn't expect it to come in this package. And we are so grateful that we did, because it has given us so much more than just the ability to build a leveraged income, which we have now achieved. And our time, for those of you who are working towards creating leverage, over the years, what we've been able to do is build a business that we've been able to take time out of and sustain an income from that business. So we reached the top of the compensation plan in 20 months. We've spoken all around the world. I'm grateful for this platform on a Thursday to be able to share with you guys. And the best part about our partnership with Nu Skin is the fact that we completely changed as people, because we plugged into all the trainings, we plugged into all the tools, and everything that we learned at Nu Skin is in fact transferable to any other business that you want to be in, or even in your career. And that for me is a great gift, because it's a low risk environment and you get mentored by people who have achieved what you want. And really for me, that is the best part. And so we are excited for our ongoing partnership. And there's a lot going on with Nu Skin, which we are super excited about. So if you're new here, stick around and know that you've got a lot to look forward to. So thank you for sharing your wins. Let's have a look at the wins and share some engagement. Okay. Natalie got some small sales. Well done. That's a huge win. And Kathleen, breakthrough, being consistent on social media and constantly reminding yourself that it's okay if it's messy. Done is better than perfect. And the same has gone for brainstorming. Ah, fantastic. Okay, so doing the work, even if it feels uncomfortable, builds a store of evidence for your brain that actually I am a person who does the things that are necessary for my business. And that builds self-trust, which then creates momentum of itself. Yay, Thena's become more structured in her day. Journaling, exercise, and small but consistent actions have led to product sales and skin consultations. Okay, plus your family life and kids' energy. Ah, because you are calmer. I love that, Theona. Thank you for sharing that. That's what happens when we do the inside work for the outside work. It all becomes more regulated. Our whole nervous systems become regulated, and everybody is able to co-regulate off that and feel better. And Lindsay is more focused and able to tick boxes consistently. Ticking boxes is a great dopamine hit. If you're like me, it's even my own list feeds my own competitive nature, because then I'm competing against me. And so ticking boxes is great. All right, so now we sit in week 3 and we've set the goals, we've done some work, we got into action, and now what? Now we're in this doldrum where there's these kind of open tabs where I've started conversations with people. Maybe I've invited them to the business. Maybe I've invited them to look at my products, or I've invited them to a consultation to offer them a service, and it's just not moving quickly enough. So if you are sitting in that space, give me a thumbs up or just some hearts in the chat so that I know that this is not a unique problem to just me, that there's other people out there. Okay, great. So there's some of you stuck in this week 3 doldrum. So what happens when we are in this place is that this week is actually your follow-up week. So if we think about the process of the month, it's goal setting, action, follow-up, closing. That's what every single month is going to look like. And it should ideally be a repeatable pattern. Why? Because the brain likes to understand structure. And if you have your week as goal setting, action, follow-up, close, then the brain doesn't freak out. It just knows that this is what's going to happen, and it gives you permission to move into that. And every month that you repeat the cycle, the brain feels safer and safer and safer, and it creates a store of evidence that says, well, this is just what it means to be a new skin. It's just set goals, do the work, follow up, close. And there's no pressure, there's no stress, there's no anxiety. That is the rewiring that happens in your brain when you make a conscious choice to overlay a structure into your world rather than it being shotgun approach. In week 3, when it's designed to be follow-up and picking up some of the dropped balls, often in action week 2, we kind of drop some balls or forget people that we've spoken to. This is a week where I find often people stall. Either the clients or the prospects stall, or we stall. And what's happening in the brain there is this is an avoidance technique designed to reduce threat. When we are faced with following up with a prospect, or when a prospect knows that they need to come back to you, a little bit of a trigger goes off in their amygdala, because let's talk about you first of all. The idea that you might now follow up creates a threat of, what if I get rejected on the follow-up? What if they think I'm salesy? What if they think I'm pushy? What if I lose the client because I followed up? So the amygdala fires and says, oh, this is dangerous. Our brains are very highly socially wired. So something like rejection hits us in the same way that a physical gut punch would, if someone punched you in the gut, because the brain manages emotion and social pain in the same part of itself that it does physical pain. So we do genuinely, this is not some made up thing that you're just bizarrely afraid of rejection. The brain recognizes rejection as an actual threat and an actual pain. So when you find yourself stalling on a follow-up, what's happened is your amygdala has fired and said, this is a dangerous place to go. Let's figure out how to get away from it. So this is when you start to maybe just not do anything related to your business, or it can be where you start to do what I call busy work. So maybe you get on a lot of like YouTubes, or you start researching product information in this week, or you start designing content for your team because shame, they don't know how to design their own content. And this is all busy work, and it gives us a little bit of a dopamine hit that substitutes for where we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be getting our dopamine from completing on the actual task. So I'm sharing this so that you understand that you're not the problem. You are not bad at the business. You're not bad at sales. This is just your brain doing what it's designed to do to protect you. And the second thing is, if you do not have an actual follow-up process, your brain doesn't have a map. How many of you have a clear and documented follow-up process for this week? If you have, yay, I'd love to hear in the chats. If you haven't, then give me a little light bulb icon somewhere if you can find a light bulb, because many people don't have a formalized follow-up process. They may have a formalized prospecting process, though we don't have a formalized follow-up process. Yeah. So Kathleen's had a light bulb moment, and Justine. And when the brain doesn't know what is going on next, it just literally stalls because it doesn't have a map. It says, well, this is unknown territory. This is Robert Frost's road less taken. We're not just not going down there. And so these two things play off one another, the possibility of social rejection. And so now we go, okay, well, no's aren't bad. No's are on the way to yes. We kind of desensitize ourselves to that and get ourselves into, okay, I'll follow up. Okay, well, then what are we doing now? And the brain just doesn't know. The good part about when we know this is that the magic is that when the follow-up is done, it closes the loop. Open tabs, when we have an awareness that a client we're supposed to be following up, or this thing with this client isn't concluded, inside the brain, there's an open tab, and the brain manages that inside its management system all the time in a part of the brain that is quite high energy, and it's looking all the time to close it. So if you start to feel in week 3 this mix of discomfort, like I know I should follow up, but I hate following up, but I want to follow up, but I hate following up, I don't really know what to do. What's going on is these parts of your brain, the part of your brain that needs completion to free up resources, is saying, will you please just get the job done? And the threat part of your brain is going, it's too scary. I can't even bear to begin to think about how scary this is. And the two parts of your brain are playing against one another. And it's literally using so much energy that your brain is starting to give you these discomfort signals. So what are you going to do with that? Well, the first thing to do is know that it's not you, it's your brain. And that kind of, you can take a deep breath and go, okay, we do not actually have a problem here. And re-regulate your nervous system, because that discomfort is your nervous system being dysregulated. No, Kath, it's not you. You're not the only one. This is not, yes, it's a you problem. It's not a unique you problem. Anybody in business is going to go through this until they know what's happening inside them. So the first step is always, you'll hear me speak about this a lot, is when you notice that discomfort happening in your body, is to notice it and just literally stop and go, I know what this is. This is my brain playing tricks on me. What is the truth here? What is actually going on here? What do I need to acknowledge? Take a big deep breath, stop, T for take a breath, tell the truth, what's actually going on here, and then move into O, which is overriding it with a thought that's more aligned with where we want to go. So you might choose a thought that says, follow-up is part of a sales process. Follow-up is service. And that's the space that I choose to come from, because it's brain friendly. When we choose that follow-up is part of our service and value add to our clients, we engage a part of our brain that's focused on community and connection. As humans, we've evolved to be in community. And so if you think of the brain as a physical hardware, what's happening when you change what your attention is focused on is that blood flow actually changes in the brain, and it engages different pieces of the brain. So when your belief or you choose to have a context that follow-up is part of my service ad to my clients, it moves the blood flow out of the amygdala into different parts of the cortex, which is where your executive functioning works, and into that community-oriented part of the brain. So the first thing to do is recognize that follow-up is a great service to a client. And practically speaking, in fact, it is. If you have ever had an experience of engaging once with somebody and it's an open tab in your head that you want to conclude this sale, or you actually do want to buy that thing, and then the person doesn't ever come back to you. How many of you have had that experience? So you're kind of interested in this thing, you've opened it, yeah, absolutely. Now, in your client's brain, just like in your brain over here, there's an open tab, I should follow up with my client. Your client's brain has this open tab, and that is annoying their brain, and it's using unnecessary resources in their brain. So when you follow up with them and give them the opportunity to either say yes or no, your brain is helping their brain become more efficient. And of course, you're helping them solve their problem. If it's a skincare problem or whatever, you're helping them buy a house or whatever their outer world problem is, you're also being of service there. But on a brain to brain level, you are helping them close a tab. Now, why is this magical? When you help somebody else close a tab, they get a dopamine hit. Our brain gives us dopamine hits when we close tabs. And when in a relationship, somebody has helped you to regulate your nervous system, it also is going to release oxytocin. And there's an association created with, wow, my interactions with Justine make me feel good. Which, how many of you have had another light bulb that go, holy schmoly, I always thought follow-ups were annoying and invasive. And how many of you have gone, that is just insane. Follow-ups are me helping my client's brain. And literally that is what's happening. So for you, what do you need to do? Number one, acknowledge that follow-ups are service-oriented. And even when the client says no, I have helped them because they have closed a tab on their brain. And that creates a positive association with me, which is why it's important to always be willing to give the person the opportunity to say no. Sometimes we're so desperate for the yes that comes across. But actually, we don't need to be desperate for the yes. We need to be desperate to sustain a long-term relationship where the person associates me with a good feeling and a service offering and problem solving. And if the yes doesn't come today, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that their brain is being rewired or wired in favor of me and my solutions and my service offering. So that's the first step for you. The second step is to design a follow-up loop. Now, you'll hear me talk a lot about loops because the brain literally runs in loops. And it's either going to create automatic loops for itself, or you will program loops. Either way, the brain wants to have loops. So the next thing to do is to design a follow-up loop that's easy for you to remember, that becomes habitual, that is cue-driven, and that there's a reward in it for you. And so I'm going to share with you a 3-step follow-up loop. And in the description on the YouTube channel, there will be a link where you can download the template for this, and then you'll have it in a document. So it works very simply. There's 3 steps to it. So the first day of your follow-up is the value day. This is day 0. And on day 0, literally what you're going to do is send a message to say, hey, I saw your post on Facebook, and I noticed that I don't know, you were out in the sun or you'd had a great holiday, and I know we spoke about XYZ for your skin. I have a quick tip for you because it relates to that thing that I just saw you do on Facebook or whatever. Or you might say, hey, listen, I was thinking about you, and while I was putting on my own skincare, I had this thought because I remember you said to me XYZ was going on with your skin. I'd love to share this thing that I've just started using on my skin. Can I give you a call later today or tomorrow? And you give them two options. Why? Because if your brain is fuzzy, you know what happens to your brain. It doesn't move. Now, if you say, here's what I see in follow-up messages. How many of you have sent this follow-up message? Hey, Lens, I'm just checking in to see if you're still needing that product we spoke about. I've got a good special on it. Won't you let me know when you let me know if you need to order. How many of you have sent that as a follow-up message? Okay. Uh, That is unclear to the brain. So your client receives words. And let me know is not a call to action. It's not a directive to their brain to do anything. What does let me know mean? It means I might come back to you in a week, in 10 days, never. What am I exactly supposed to let you know? Am I supposed to let you know that I am confused? Like, what exactly are you telling me to do? It's, as Justine says, it's too open-ended. So it's important in a follow-up message to say, hey, I was thinking about you. I remember you mentioned that you have trouble with sunspots. I have recently been using our new retinol, and I would love to share with you what I got from it. I think it might help your sunspots. Can we chat today, perhaps if you're open, or tomorrow I've got a gap at 12. Can I give you a call? And they are literally either going to say, sure, I'm open today, or I'm open tomorrow, because their brain, remember, our brains are all the time wanting to close loops, because open loops use resources. They will then make a choice. They're either going to say, listen, I bought something, I'm done, I don't want anything more, thanks. And then you get to say, okay, cool. Can I give you a call in a week or 2 weeks' time and see how you're going with your new product? So we keep moving the client into the next action step, so that keeps their brain noise free, and it creates an association with you that you are no pressure, you're just a nice service-oriented person. Then on day 3, so this is day 0, day 3, you're going to go back to them if they haven't activated on it and repeat the thing. I remember your goal was to get clear skin for your daughter's wedding. We haven't moved forward on this. Based on that, I've actually got 2 openings for free skin consults next week. I'd love to offer you one. Which time would work best for you? And then you offer them 2 times. Can you see how that's nice and clear? Pop a chat in to tell me what you're seeing, what you're suddenly understanding about that. And then about a week later, if they still haven't come back to you, what are you going to do with that? Now, remember, our goal is to close tabs in your brain and close tabs in their brain. They are sitting with this open tab because they haven't come back to you. You are sitting with this open tab. And the third step then is on day 7, you're going to send a message to say, hey, I get that life is busy. I totally don't want to overwhelm you. I'd love to have this conversation with you when it's more suitable. I'm going to put this on the pin board for now. Would it be okay if I give you a shout in a couple of months when things quieten down? So you've literally temporarily, not permanently, closed the loop for both of you. You've let them off the hook. You've let yourself off the hook, though you've at the same time moved a forward date that will open as a tab in 2 or 3 months' time. But your process, of course, is to diarize that I must now phone this person in 2 months and see if they've got a solution. So it's very simple, and it documented in a way that works for you, that you have it on auto repeat. In the same way that you already have what your invitation call sounds like. Hey, this is me, this is what I do, and here's what I'm offering. Your follow-up contacts must have the same set structure to reduce threat in your brain and to reduce threat for their brain. So that's what we do in week 2. So I would love you to now, in the next 4 minutes, start doing this. The first thing I'd love you to do is write down the 10 names. If you've been doing the business well in the first 2 weeks, you should have 10 names that are open prospects. I'm going to call these the rescue list, the people who are like drowning out there. They don't know which way they're going. So write down now 10 names of people you've had a contact with this month, and it's living as an open tab. They should be fairly obvious to you because it's annoying your brain right now. And when you've got your 10 down, just type 10 in the chats or in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. Okay, so Kat's got 6 down. Okay, when you've got your as close to 10 as you've got, if you don't have 10, then all of your rescue list, pop a message in the chats. Okay, Narelle's got 10, Justine's got 10. Good. Okay, so a fair chunk of you've got 10. All right, now take the top 2 and we're going to choose now to send a message. So write the message out first so that it's clear in your brain. Write it on your notebook for the first 2. What is it that you're going to say? So it's first of all, hey, I was thinking of you, and what is the value I'm going to offer you right now? Remember, this first message is a value drop to them. So write it out, and you might want to practice these until it feels like it's your voice, until you find and I'm not going to give you a specific script because scripts are not always authentic. But so the framework is this is a value drop for my client. Hey, I was thinking about you and your issue, and here's what I've got that's a value that might help you with it. Can we speak on either of these 2 times? That's the framework. So write down for the top 2 on your list your message that you're going to send to them. And you can send it in a voice note or a text. I find voice notes better. There's a lot of science that says when people hear each other's voices, it triggers oxytocin for them, especially if they've got a good relationship with them. So voice notes generally are going to create a social connection in a more effective way. Okay, I see a chat. I had this exact chat. Oh, great. Well done, Justine. Fantastic. Alrighty, and I'm going to give you a challenge then for the rest of the week is by the end of today, I would like you to have sent, or before you finish this, at the end of the YouTube or before you move on to your next meeting, have sent 2. And then by the end of the next 48 hours, in other words, today's Thursday, by the end of tomorrow, all 10 of those people must have gotten a follow-up day 0 message. Okay, because if you think about it, we've got to get this done within 7 days now, because on Thursday, we're going to talk about how to close and how to finish strong. So today's day 0. By the end of Friday, set yourself a challenge to have sent all of those people a day 0 value drop so that by Monday, you're sending the day 3 message so that by Thursday, you can send them the, hey, it's no problem. I know that you're busy. We can cancel this. What that does for you by Thursday next week is you've got a shorter list to close. You're not trying to close all 10 because you're never going to actually close all 10 by the end of the month. That's not real stats. But you've now shortened yourself to have a shorter list when we work together on Thursday. Great stuff, guys. I hope that that was helpful. If you had big nuggets, put some comments in or chats. Go rewatch it again on YouTube. And let's make this week the best follow-up week you've ever had in your whole lives.